At the edge of a quiet meadow where the light shifted in its own way every morning, lived a horse and a butterfly. He was steady, like an old oak that had weathered decades of storms. She was light, as if made of moments you could never hold on to. They had little in common, yet they met almost every day. The butterfly would drift low, settle near him and fill the air with colors only she could carry. The horse sometimes offered her the shade of his body, the stillness of his pasture. But every now and then, as if something unseen stirred inside him, he'd lift his leg and kick, a sharp, sudden motion that broke the air. Moments later, he'd give a calm, almost warm smile. Between the kick and the smile, the butterfly chose to remember only the smile, and she kept coming back the next day. Over time, this routine became part of the landscape. The horse stayed within his fence, chewing slowly, gazing at the horizon as if waiting for something he couldn't name. The butterfly would arrive, dance in the air for a moment, and rest near him, bringing news the wind carried from far away. He greeted her always the same, sometimes silent, sometimes with a blow that sent dust into the air. She, too light to hold a grudge, carried only what her wings could bear: the cool shade, the calm rhythm of his breath. She never mentioned the marks left behind. Maybe she knew that speaking of them would make the weight of the words heavier than the wounds themselves. One morning, the butterfly didn't come. The sun rose and set, and the horse barely noticed her absence. In the days that followed, other wings crossed the clearing, but none lingered by his side the way she had. Only after many quiet mornings did he feel it, a missing color in the air like a note gone from a song. Restless, the horse stepped out of his fence for the first time in years. He wandered through the meadow, crossed shallow streams, and listened to the dry crack of leaves under his hooves. Finally, tired, he lay down in the shade of an old tree. That's when an elephant appeared, slow and watchful, and asked who he was and what he was looking for. The horse said he was searching for a colorful butterfly, one who brought joy to everyone she visited. The elephant lowered his head. "I know who you mean, but she doesn't fly anymore." The horse's chest tightened. "What do you mean she doesn't fly?" His voice barely above a whisper. The elephant looked away, as if choosing his words carefully. "She got sick. Her wings grew heavy, until one day they just wouldn't open again. I heard she used to visit a horse, always returning from those visits with marks. She never said who caused them. She only talked about the good moments, always with a smile." A cold wave ran through the horse. Silence pressed in. Memories came, the dust rising from his kicks, the sharp sound cutting the air, the way she still stayed afterward. "She spoke of you," the elephant said, his voice carrying both comfort and regret. "She called you her friend." The horse lowered his eyes to the ground. In the dust, he saw the shadow of his own hooves, and in them, the weight of all the gestures he could never undo. The images flashed, her bright flight approaching, the blow, the smile that followed. And he realized that smile hadn't been forgetfulness. It had been a choice. The choice to hold on to what was good, even when the bad left scars. Tears came, sudden and hot, falling into the dirt. It was too late to ask forgiveness from someone who could no longer hear. The horse stayed under that tree until the sun dipped low. He didn't want to return to his fence as if nothing had changed. He carried something both new and old, the truth that some wounds aren't born of malice but of carelessness, and not all of them have time to heal. That night he didn't sleep. He looked up at the dark sky, imagining a flight he'd never see again. He promised himself that if another butterfly ever landed near him, he'd offer only shade and stillness. The kick would remain locked inside his legs. The wind would be the only thing moving between them. Some wings close not from the weight of the journey, but from the blows they've endured. The horse never saw the butterfly again, but the space she once filled in the meadow stayed alive in his memory. And in that space, he learned that care isn't just about being present. It's about choosing not to harm. If someone lands near you, don't test the strength of their wings. Offer rest, not weight. Keep this line as a key. The love that protects is stronger than the love that repairs. If this story found a place in you, leave a single dot below. It will be your quiet reminder to never forget the lightness of those who trust you enough to land.